Hey guys, I'm Al Furqan Al Haq here. Saw a video by David Wood making the argument against naturalism using the argument from reason. Basically, it's just saying that if the naturalistic world is correct and all of our actions are determined by natural selection, then even our cognitive abilities are a part of this system, and that undermines our ability to perceive truth. We're there to propagate DNA, not to serve as objective truth deciphering machines. Vice Rhino did a rebuttal video of this, and I'm going to go into that video. I only went into the beginning of it. The rest of it, can be done by some Christian who's more familiar with Plantinga and, his argument from reason and all of that. I just want to point out the things that I saw even right at the very beginning.
People can feel safe crossing this bridge because it was designed to support lots of traffic going back and forth every day. But what if it hadn't been designed with human beings and their vehicles in mind? What if the Brooklyn Bridge had been constructed as a big perch for pigeons, perhaps to keep them off the buildings of Manhattan?
Then I imagine people wouldn't be driving or walking across it. It would also have been a huge waste of resources, as pigeons in New York are little more than a nuisance, so to construct something that large and expensive that doesn't work anyways would have been pointless.
This is odd because Vice Rhino is actually just restating David's point emphatically, but in a way that's mocking. So it doesn't really make sense. Let's break it down. David is making an analogy. Wouldn't it be ridiculous to think you could drive a car over something that had been merely built for pigeons to sit on it? Okay. In this analogy, the operation of pigeon sitting is parallel with propagating our own DNA. Okay. The heavy cars driving over it are the heavy burden of supporting truth claims. So just as it's ridiculous to drive a car over something constructed for birds, it's ridiculous to trust the inferences and deductions of a system that was made to propagate itself and spread with the burden of finding truth. Okay, I understand the internet and using rhetorical flourishes and so forth, but Rhino here is undermining his own rebuttal by agreeing with David that this is stupid. That's David's entire point. He would have been better off here trying to prove that it's a false analogy. So I'm not sure what his approach was here. It seemed to work for all of his followers, though. So I guess if it works for them.
In that case, wouldn't it be utterly foolish to drive your car across it?
Yes, which is why we don't usually use bird cages as bridges.
That's exactly David's point. He's saying we shouldn't trust our cognitive abilities for truth-finding if all they are is a part of natural selection.
Does it make sense to trust something with a task that goes vastly beyond what it was meant to do? This is the basic idea behind the argument from reason, which is mainly an argument against naturalism. Naturalism is the claim that the natural world is all that exists. No God, no angels, no demons, just matter, energy, and natural forces. Many atheists are naturalists. But the argument from reason can also be used to support belief in God. So, here goes. Human beings have the ability to reason. We're using it right now. We wouldn't have discussions like this if we thought that our cognitive faculties, the processes that produce our beliefs, were unreliable.
Well, some can certainly reason better than others, but do continue.
But naturalists have a problem here because they can only explain things by appealing to natural objects, natural events, natural causes.
That's right. Magic is completely off limits to a naturalist.
Think about this for a moment. You have beliefs. Ultimately, according to naturalism, your beliefs must be the result of physical processes in your brain.
And are you saying they're not?
I think Rhino knows this is a straw man, but it's just like a rhetorical flourish, but it's still worth pointing out because it is a straw man. No Jew or Christian in their theology has ever stated that we weren't physical too. It's just if you break everything down in the universe to merely physical and natural law descriptions, it is deterministic or random. That's what David's saying. He's not saying that our brains don't exist as physical things. Surely Rhino knew this. In any case, it's never been some weird, embarrassing fact of theology that medieval scholastic theologians always accepted the Aristotelian definition of man as a rational animal. You can even look in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, 18 to 20. I said in my heart concerning the estate of sons of men, that God might manifest them, that they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Even as one thing befalleth them, so as one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they all have one breath, so that a man has no preeminence above a beast. For all is vanity. All go into one place, all are of dust, and to dust they return. They are made of material. Now, where the difference is that they aren't just entirely made of material. They aren't merely the material.
Now, what's going on in here? Particles in motion, chemical reactions, neurons firing. It's all physical, governed by laws of nature, not by commitment to truth.
How is that even a comparison? Would you criticize gravity for not being committed to the truth? Or thermodynamics? Next time you light a match, ask it if it's committed to the truth while it increases the entropy of the matchstick.
I rewatched this over and over, and I'm so confused as to what his objection even is. He seems to once again just be agreeing with David. David's saying that it's this deterministic chemical reaction, and therefore it can't make truth claims. And then Rhino rebuts with, well, would you attack a match for making a truth claim? Look, he's attacking you. He's calling you a match. I think gravity isn't making truth claims about the universe. Thermodynamics isn't making truth claims about the universe. Matches who are increasing the entropy of the matchstick aren't making videos full of straw men and scientifically illiterate statements and posting them on the internet.
So what really seems like careful reasoning to you is actually straightforward, mechanical, mindless cause and effect. A fancy array of falling dominoes.
Yeah, that's an idea called naturalistic determinism.
Determinism and an argument against free will are two different things.
The idea is that if you can know exactly how every molecule in the universe is placed and exactly what momentum it has, then you can plot all of their trajectories. And because our brain functions through the use of these molecules, everything you have done or will do was determined by the initial state of the molecules in the universe. It's an idea that has some merit, but I think Heisenberg's uncertainty principle pretty much shows it to be false.
I think just like Rhino blurred determinism and an argument against free will, I think he's blurring Heisenberg's uncertainty principle with quantum indeterminacy. So I'll talk a little bit about both. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, it states that a particle cannot have both a definite position and momentum at the same time. Now, the reason for the uncertainty in Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is particle wave duality phenomenon from quantum physics. While quantum indeterminacy would disprove determinism, because it adds kind of this random element in, it does not give us free will. Basically, quantum indeterminacy adds an element of randomness into the universe. The laws of physics are either deterministic or stochastic, meaning it's like either a set of dominoes or it's a dice roll. Okay, quantum indeterminacy. Newtonian classical physics were overthrown. So like this idea of you could predict, what large objects are doing, off infinitum by quantum mechanics in the 1920s. No longer could we just say with complete knowledge every aspect of a system that if we had complete knowledge we could predict everything that would happen. Unlike classical physics, quantum physics is probabilistic. So much to Einstein's chagrin, it turns out that God does, after all, play dice. An example from nature is radioactive decay. We can't predict when a particular uranium-235 nucleus will decay, but we can assign it a probability. And when you get a large enough sample, you can get pretty accurate predictions and determine what's called the half-life of an element. Uranium atoms do not have free will, simply because there's randomness in the calculations of some of the natural laws that affect them. There's several reasons why quantum indeterminacy can't give us free will. There's a difference between randomness and a rational choice. Quantum theory asserts that all events, to the extent they aren't constrained to determinism, are governed by chance. In The Conscious Mind, the book The Conscious Mind by philosopher David Chalmers, he states, quote, the theory that quantum determinacy allows free will contradicts the quantum mechanical postulate that these microscopic decisions are entirely random. End quote. So, for example, If there's two possible outcomes in a quantum process, and they have a 50% chance of occurring, no human is going to choose between them. It's going to happen randomly. Scientific materialism, the view that I'm guessing Rhino has, is a view that, one, only matter/energy exists. Those are the same thing, equals mc squared. And two, matter is governed by the laws of physics and nothing else. Now, the laws of physics, as I said earlier, are either deterministic or stochastic. And by stochastic, I just mean random. The physicist Stephen Barr explains, physics is quantitative. If human behavior is reduced to quantities, two things only can be found. To the extent that the behavior is predictable, it falls under some deterministic rule. To the extent that it's unpredictable, it appears to mathematical analysis as merely random. There is nothing else that quantitative analysis can yield. However, according to the traditional view of free will, an act is free only to the extent that it is neither random nor determined by rule. Like random behavior, it is not predictable, but unlike random behavior, it is the product of rational choice rather than chance. Free behavior is a tertium quid, a third kind of thing, and therefore there is no way that it can be explained by mathematical theory of physics. This is almost a matter of definition, end quote. As a matter of definition, then, what you think is actually your rational mind and free will is merely deterministic or random variables going forward in a way unknowable to your conscious mind. Francis Crick, one of the co-discoverers of DNA, states, quote, what you're aware of is a decision, but you're not aware of what makes you do the decision. It seems free to you, but it's the result of things you are not aware of, end quote. Edward O. Wilson states, quote, the hidden preparation of mental activity gives the illusion of free will, end quote. In Daniel Dennett's book, Consciousness Explained, he holds this very same view. Now, David Wood's video is undermining your trust in your own epistemology because your brain is deterministic. You can fix the rebuttal just by saying in random. That doesn't add rationality or anything of value to what your human mind is made of. So, I mean, this is just like one of the many reasons I ended up leaving atheism, is because it just doesn't give a coherent worldview. It doesn't answer life's deepest questions. Like, if I'm just this mix of random and deterministic factors, I don't actually exist. Okay, and if I don't exist, how can my life have any meaning or purpose? Like, what's the point of even trying to make truth claims? Like, why not just live for your own subjective happiness? You know, it's like kind of when your worldview makes nihilism inevitable, it's kind of silly then to try to tell another worldview that they're wrong.